Welcome to Caleb and Jodi Moore podcast. This is episode number 7, and today we have some very special guests with us. I want to introduce to you Megan Selman. She is the CEO of the Russellville Chamber of Commerce. Megan, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having
me.
me.
And then we have the talk of the town, Mr. Eric Boen here, founder of Boen-Kemp. He has been the guy that has been building the Academy Sports in town and the Olive Garden in town and a whole lot of other things that I think we're going to find out today that he has been in charge of and doing. And Eric, thanks for being here, man. We know
appreciate it.
Busy guy. So,
Yeah.
And you got a real estate background.
Yep.
So that's where you kind of started at, was real estate with your dad, brokerage, right? Just
well,
like us.
So I started in 2007, Dallas Real Estate Services, and then was at Flake and Kelly for a long time, for 4 years, for about, I guess, 5 years, and just doing tenant brokerage.
So residential?
No,
just
commercial.
Just
Yeah.
commercial. So that's where it's always been, is the
Yeah.
commercial side.
Yeah.
So then later on, you kind of decided to do the construction side of it along with the commercial side, right?
If the guy that dropped me off was
Yeah.
here, that went over to the job site to check on the Olive Garden, he had a bright idea about why I should start a construction company. And I listened to him and didn't really do much thinking, and so we ended up starting. And it's been a long road. It's a lot more difficult than real estate is.
About when was-
I
There's a lot
believe
more
that.
moving parts.
When was that, Eric?
2017.
Okay.
2017.
Wow, so relatively new, if you
Yeah.
want to call it that.
Yeah, from the construction side. Yeah.
Yes.
But you've been doing real estate for how long?
So I started in real estate in probably December of 2007. So the best time to
2007.
start when
Yeah.
the
course.
economy tanked.
You're right. Well, Jodi and I had 2009.
Yeah. And
And so-
I got my license in 2010, which
Yeah.
wasn't a whole lot better.
No,
No,
it
it's
was
not better,
about
yeah.
11 was when it started heating back up. I would
But you
say.
don't really know any different. You
No.
just come in blinded and
We
you
were-
just
we
do
were in
what
our
you're told.
20s,
So-
and we were like, we'll do a foreclosure, we'll do a short sale. We don't know what that means, but
Right.
we'll do it.
I've never bought a house, but I'll sell you one. I'll help you
So
buy
it was, it was an interesting time. But if you can get through that, you can get through pretty much anything. So I really would like to know, Megan,
Yes.
Eric, how did this actually take place? Because where the location is very interesting to me, because it's on Main Street.
Yes.
Which I find fascinating, because everybody would have thought the location would have been further north, closer to the interstate. And so, which is really cool, because Jodi and I really like to talk about Main Street, not Wall Street, and we're literally talking about Main Street today. So
Yes.
so we'd like to hear that story. How did you choose Russellville? And then we can kind of get into some other things when it comes to like how you search, where you search, and all that stuff.
Okay.
I can start with, even before Eric and I began to work together, there was a piece of property on Main Street that I thought knew the owner of the property and thought this would be a great piece to list on the Entergy Arkansas economic development site as an economic development property opportunity here. It's zoned commercial, but it could be warehouse distributing. The history of the property was like the muffler shop driving range combo
Yes.
there.
Yes.
If you're
Yes, I
from
remember that.
Russellville, so
Yes.
you could get, your muffler
Yep.
fixed while you hit the bucket of
the
balls
balls.
out back. And so I thought this is a great piece of property. So look at the traffic here, the proximity to I-40s.
Yes.
Actually had it more not manufacturing, but like distribution, logistics center in mind. So put it out there to some economic development groups. And then I think I cold called Olive Garden and said, wait a minute, you know what? This would work for y'all.
Go, Megan.
And then from there, I got to meet Eric. We got him into town, and I feel like that first day that Eric came to town, I said, what do you want to see? I want to show you not just this property or any property, but tell me some parameters. And Eric said, I really like to just wing it. And I thought, like, what does that?
What does that mean?
That is not who I am. I was like, I need a plan. I want to have all the information on everything you look at ready to go to hand to
Right.
you. And so
He goes, I'm just going to feel it out.
very
and it's gonna
intuitive,
be
very intuitive.
Well, it's worked well for you.
process,
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything I do is just all in them is just gut, which it gets me in trouble a lot.
Yeah, but you said something earlier before we started filming was Russellville. And I thought, how did you make that connection? Because you are from Dallas originally.
No, Little Rock.
You're from Little Rock
Yeah.
originally, but now you live in Northwest Arkansas, but Russellville's been on your radar, right?
Well, so
Tell us.
First State Bank.
Yes.
Chip Blanchard, AKA Skip.
Yep.
He's my secret weapon. I've met Chip. Me and Chip really weren't friends in college. We're both type A personalities, and we would probably butt heads a lot in the early years we met. He was about a year older than me.
You've all grown up a little bit, is what you're saying.
We've grown up. We've matured and not be idiots anymore. But Chip just has always been there with me, and I've kind of I guess it's been probably 10, 15 years we've been banking with him, and so I'm very familiar with Russellville. But for the longest, it really wasn't on our radar. We were always messing around in Conway, Benton's, because those are the communities that were kind of I guess you would say, just outside of Little Rock, the communities that were growing. So Russellville, I've known about it a while, obviously, just from being around Chip. So
well, good. Well, we're glad you're here. And are you excited, I guess, towards this journey? Because is this the first build that your company will have done?
So
Pope
I did
County?
the Discount Tire. I represent them as well with Good Time Charlie, McElwain, and that was a pleasant transaction. We've always liked Russellville. That Weir Road's very interesting.
Yeah.
But like Megan was saying, when I met her, I like to come into towns and find. I don't like to go through the real estate side and get all the people kind of fired up on that end. I'd rather go to the mayor or the city and find out what story they have to tell, because that's really where I end up ultimately dealing with. And figuring it all out. So, I told her, I was like, we wing it, and she didn't know what to think. And I was like, just drive me around, let me see it.
Just let me get a feel for it.
And then one thing led to another, and we found Mr. Sorrell's property.
Yeah. So tell me, walk us through that. What are you looking for? What do you feel?
Just I have a weird way of seeing things. I can usually, if I'm driving around town, I can always spot something that I feel like is either something that is a diamond in the rough. I just have a knack for finding real estate, whether it be, hotels or rundown things. I'm just not afraid to go ask people and call. So I think my confidence is at sometimes my wife would say a little too high, but I like to stay positive and confident with everything I do. So, the community really, dealing with her and then talking with the mayor and some other folks that we've met here, they were just had their arms open. They didn't, a lot of cities in Northwest Arkansas, and I'll say at Fayetteville, they don't have their arms open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes it difficult.
Yeah.
So when I see that makes it a lot easier for me to choose that and come and do something where I'm not having to be advertational.
Right.
With cities.
Well, and ultimately, you're going to be in partner with them for a long time, as long as the construction and probably after for a while.
Yeah.
And you want to enjoy that process yourself as a human.
Yeah.
So I get that. Well, good job, Megan. Thank you for
Well, it was a
your
learning
job.
experience for me because I got to see the other side of how, you've got people who are very prepared and who want all of the information. And I got to learn how more intuitive, let's look. Okay, what are you looking for? I was learning to
love that.
We were pulling housing permits to look at the growth. We were looking at our recent industry announcements, Tabor, Americold, Owens Corning. The jobs are coming to Russellville. We were looking at the traffic on West Main, and one thing we really looked at was the leakage.
Yes, speak to that.
The leakage in our community indicates, I love there is local. Speaking to the academy, the Feltners, I could not love a family or a store more. And so, I tiptoed on academy for a while, I think, but just looking at the leakage and the kinds of products being very different from what we had locally, and looking at the credit card data out of the academy in Conway and the Dix in Conway and seeing that our Pope and Yale County people are leaving and paying sales tax to other counties and other cities. And that's something that's my job to think about and care about. And so that's how we kind of got to looking at a bigger box.
So Eric, how did that work with you have an academy that's in the far back. You have an Olive Garden that's in the front. It's kind of a different, not that you don't see that, but it's on East Main. You have the restaurant in front, you have academy in back. walk me through that process, because that's a very unique process, I feel
So
like.
both brands had a budget that they couldn't afford to go and buy a big, expensive piece of property. And so another thing, what she was talking about, I mean, the big thing in Russellville and why we chose this is obviously the residential growth, the job growth, and then just obviously meeting her and then knowing Chip. It's just those two things are so high on their list. But it really came down to the economics. And, when I told Megan, I said, so who else is calling you? Like, because I want to know, like, give me a name. And she's like, there's this guy out of North Carolina. I said, North Carolina. And because I dealt with Colette in Conway and put a bunch of brands that we represent in their development down in Conway. And as soon as she told me that, I went into
Full competition mode.
game mode. And so
Yeah.
in my eyes, I was like, I'm going to beat them.
Yeah.
Game on.
Great for
So I,
Russellville.
I said, hey, Megan, we got to do this quick. And again, Megan could be the best real estate broker in this town. And no offense to anybody, me included.
I've been trying to
She
recruit
starts
her.
anytime she wants a license, yeah.
She could do it. But she called me and said, hey, I think I got 11 acres. And so I came down here and I met with Jamie. And what's funny is I actually was a week late. The folks that were the academy, the Colette, the other guys developing the academy piece, because all I did was put the 11 acres under contract, go to Colette and sell them 9 acres in the back, because I only wanted 2 acres for Olive Garden.
Right.
So I knew Colette out of North Carolina just from dealing with them on the 400,000 feet they built in Conway. And they were supposed to actually put a statue of me up in that one because I did 3 deals there, and they said I couldn't do it, and I did it, and I still don't. But anyway,
You're not bitter about that. Yeah.
I just mess with them a lot about it. But so we ended up working well together, and they're the cream of the crop. When you get Colette, they're probably, I would say, the number 1 developer in the southeast region out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So they have a lot deeper pockets than I do, but. I can beat them.
You got me.
I'm queer.
I don't think
Yeah.
we've really honed in on the I guess who you represent. So can we just
So
talk to that?
Darden Restaurants owns from Capitol Grill, Capitol Burger, Eddie V's, Seasons 52, Bahama Breeze, Longhorn, Chewy's, Ruth Chris, Olive Garden,
Cheddar's, yes.
Yeah. So those are our 15
Your
brands,
15.
whatever. But
That sounds amazing.
if you've seen the movie, and I'm going to say this wrong, the Ministry of Undistinguished Gentlemen or whatever.
No.
That's kind of the way I describe myself for Darden. I'm kind of like their cowboy. Like I do about 10 deals a year. And if Megan met with the Darden side of folks, it would be politically correct. And you would go down
We didn't
like a
bring
list,
them.
but they don't hire me to do that. They hire me to get stores open, and that's my job.
Yes. Well, you do it well.
And they're fast paced. So it's tough. The restaurants are tough to build.
What's your timeline average, start to finish?
7 to 8 months typically.
That's not
It just
bad.
depends on the dirt. Like here, we had to cut down to China.
Yes, I
We
saw
found
that.
some tanks.
Oh, yeah, 'cause that used to be a long time
Full
ago.
tanks.
Full
Bowden
tanks.
and Black-
full. Oh,
Yeah, I'm not. Jim Bowden and Blackstone did our dirt work, and they did a good job. They're obviously very qualified. So we've worked with a lot of local people. Like I say, this whole job that we're doing, aside from me and the Colette people, and then Academy, obviously out of Texas, and Darden out of Florida, everybody else is pretty much local.
Local. That's
Yeah.
one question we were going to ask.
Yeah.
Do you pull from the local crop?
Typically, so Rebecca Walker's our pre-con, which she's awesome, and she was able to pull it all together. Then Jordan Ligon in our office too. So, but yeah, majority of our subs are local, but I'd say I have about 30 to 40% of our subs that'll just travel with us.
Okay. Yeah, 30, 40%.
Yeah, that we've got a good relationship with, like Oak Brothers, Friel, DeHoven, HVAC out of Conway.
Yes.
So we use a lot of
I'm from
Arkansas
Conway
subs.
originally, so I
Okay.
know all these guys
Chewy's
you're
and
talking about.
the Chewy's and Olive Garden.
I saw both of those just
Yeah, in
fact,
Conway.
we were there a few days
well,
ago.
we drove through there, yeah.
And first time I saw Chewy's.
Chewy's is doing big business in Conway.
Yeah,
That's great.
I believe that.
And you know what's
Yeah.
funny is I brought the Chewy's people in there, and we were, and this guy that lived in Damascus that runs their bar, and I was like, I know where Damascus is up on 65 because I used to play Heber Springs a lot in sports in high school, and we were talking one thing and another, and he was. I was like, "Where do you think we should put the next Chewy's?" He didn't even blink. He said, "Russellville." And I looked right at Chewy's head of real estate, and I said, "You heard me. I've been telling you that, and I ain't lying."
Yeah.
And so the bar manager actually said that, so that was pretty funny.
Well,
so
Russellville is such a unique
place.
place because, and we talked about this, Megan, because we service so many different communities in Russellville, right? So Pope County is really Russellville's on the edge of the Arkansas River. So Yell County comes over. Johnson County will come down. You got Logan County. You've got Newton County. So you have all these counties, and we're the biggest city seat in and among this whole area. Not only that, but we got I-40, 64, all these main thoroughfares that come through, Highway 7.
Yes.
So it really is a pinch point if you want to look at it that way. And so, yeah, we've been saying that for a long time. I think we're in a better place thanks to Megan and some of the other things that the city's doing to recruit and make things easier. I think that's what business is like. When I talked to Nate a month ago, the biggest thing we talked tariffs, but he said deregulation was the number one thing, would make life so much easier. And you could forget about tariffs and everything else because the deregulation would save businesses so much money. And I think that's what we're seeing more is like there's a mindset both in the state and the local government to say, we got to make things easier for you guys to come in and build, not pull 1,000 permits.
Well,
and you just said Fayetteville was not real kind to you, and through the whole session, and Brienne even said this, they were fighting, municipalities a lot because they were getting out of control, especially in Northwest Arkansas, on a lot of these things. And so, but here it's easy, right? Like it's a lot easier. Let me say that.
Well, I think two factors play into that, and what we've noticed is Arkansas was ranked first or second in like most moved to state. So there's a lot more people. And second is I think we moved from like rank 18 to like number 12 in best to do business with. So new construction coming in, which is huge.
So what are you seeing?
Wonderful.
Are you seeing that too? Because the GDP for the state of Arkansas is 5.2, which was the highest in the nation.
Yeah, that's great.
So to Jodi's point, like we're seeing a lot of movement in that area. Are you seeing that as well from a construction viewpoint?
Yeah, I mean, state of Arkansas is busy. Like from Darden's standpoint, it's a very profitable state for them because our taxes are something that's way above my pay grade. But, we may do a $4.5 million store here. They may do $5.5 million in Texas, and it's just as profitable in Arkansas. So there's something to that, which I don't really understand because my focus is always one job. I just got to get stores open. So I don't dig into tariffs, interest rates.
None of that.
I focus on what I can do.
But interest rates don't this roller coaster of interest rates.
The higher the interest rate, the better it is for me. Less competition.
Yes.
Less competition.
Yeah, because I've got my clients that I'm going to build for. So we would, this probably sounds bad, but a slower economy, a higher interest rate, I'm going to be licking my chops because there's just going to be less competition.
Yeah.
Because you'll do the job regardless.
So Darden, in their standpoint, they're a giant. They have no debt. They have zero debt. So it's 100% cash. They when during COVID, they had to draw on $1 billion line of credit, and they've already paid it back.
Wow.
And they never faulted on a rent payment. They never fired an employee. Like if you go and talk to Darden employees, it's a really good place to work for a Fortune 100 company. Their processes are slow. I sometimes have a hard time being patient. And so I get slapped on the hand every now and then. But other than that, they're awesome.
So, but as far as your insight into like you're building, not just here, you're building
all
in
over.
Conway, you're building in
Conway, Benton,
So-
Searcy, you name them.
The construction problems that we were facing during COVID, getting all the delays and stuff like that. You're not experiencing that much right now. And
No, I feel like the construction's kind of leveled out at the moment. I don't feel like anything's really jumped up. Now they're going to try to act like they're going to have to change some prices now because all this tariff talk, which I still don't understand that. But the construction's kind of held pretty steady. The delays on steel, HVAC, electrical bill aren't as bad. People are sourcing transformers. So I feel like they've kind of figured that out a little bit. But I would say the construction's really kind of stayed pretty steady over the last 12 months. I've been able to hold a Olive Garden pricing on their building pretty much steady for the last few years. But we've done so many now, and we do them in multiple states, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and now they've got me coming into Texas, which I'm excited about. Texas still is the cream of the crop because,
that is.
you know, like Arkansas and Oklahoma, we're just the redheaded stepchild. And Texas, we're an extension of it.
I know.
We're
trying.
Which is great. But both Arkansas, Oklahoma are a force to be reckoned with.
And but what we're seeing on our end, you tell me if you see it too, is that Texas is becoming California number 2. Mm-hmm. Californians are moving to Texas more than any other state. Texans are now getting out of Texas, a lot of them, and they're getting into the Oklahomas, the Arkansas, the Tennessees. You know, they're moving in that direction, right? And Californians are moving this direction too. But it's a migration. Like if you looked at it since 2020, it is a migration. Texas is still the cream of the crop. 100% agree. But if you look at the GDP, it's nowhere near what Arkansas is, and I think the reason is because it's saturated.
Yeah.
So your competition in Arkansas is a whole lot less, like you said a little bit ago. And
I get a lot of people from out of state is mainly who I'm competing with. There's developers in Arkansas, but there's not a lot out there beating the streets as hard as we are on the net investment, and that's pretty much what we focus on is the single tenant stuff. We'll build a lot of multi-center buildings, but we like the single tenant, the Olive Gardens, the Chipotles, the Seven Brews. We've done a lot of those as well.
And do you keep those tenants?
No. I sell everything.
You sell everything.
Yeah,
okay.
Just because a rich guy one time told me if you don't have 50% to hold a piece of real estate, get it out of there. So I got a lot of real estate and I don't have that much money, so I sell, pay my taxes.
Yeah.
Well, so project for me real quick, all right? And Megan, you jump in here on this one too. So this market's been kind of doing some crazy stuff, not just the stock market, but in real estate. You look at the last 5 years, it's been doing some crazy stuff. As we start to go down this road in the next, like project for me 1 year, like what do you see in the next 12 months in the construction phase, commercial phase?
In Russellville.
Russellville. I want Russellville, but I also want, from your perspective, state and also just in general, like what do you see? And then project for me 5 years, okay? Because it was stagnant, and then it boomed. And then we kind of go through these roller coasters where it's like that. So do you see anything that's going to hinder that or make the roller coaster go crazy?
Yes. So, well, first, I think what's happening in Russellville mirrors what's happening in the state, and that is at the base of economic development, traditional economic development, it is job creation. Mm-hmm. And so what you see if you kind of back up and look is you see a big manufacturing announcement that is not that exciting to the average person. And it's an Owens Corning, it's an Americold, it's a blue collar manufacturing sector job. Even Phoenix Innovations.
Right.
And you see that announcement and like 10 people clap and those are good jobs. They have a career pathway usually, to better yourself. They have benefits and they have a lot of times low barrier to entry positions, GEDs, high school, diplomas, all kinds of jobs from an accounting job, an engineering job to, hey, it's just like there's no barrier to entry, like let's get you OSHA 12 and get you going. And so when you see a lot of success in that sector, in locally we've had it, and at the state level they've definitely had it. You will see all of a sudden commercial retail is like it's coming to town. The dog's wagging the tail, and because they know people are about to move there. There's about to be growth. You see job growth or growth in the stable job sector, which we know is technology, manufacturing, logistics, distribution, and Russellville is heavy in those sectors. The River Valley is known as like the manufacturing brunt of the state. And so when you see success there and they're having it all over the state, then all of a sudden, if you pay attention, you start to see, we're the number one for Arkansas's number one for people moving here. And Russellville's growing, and all of our rural population, they don't have to move to come to Russellville and work. Like our daytime population grows by 8,000 to 10,000 Monday through Friday.
Right.
So we've got volume. We've got multiple outages happening a year. That's not reflected. There's 1,000 extra people in town to work. That's not reflected in our stagnant population. You've got a 4-year university with a 2-year, both ways, ATU Ozark, UACCM, so we can train your workforce, your manufacturing workforce. And so we've got a lot of volume that is a little bit hidden when you realize, hey, all those surrounding rural areas are working, shopping, and eating in Russellville. Like the number 8 Walmart in the state, our super center is. And so then you see retail start to kind of, hey, I'm coming. It grabs their attention. And
that makes sense.
I think you'll see growth because
that.
we're having success in those less visible areas. And so then you see the exciting, like you saw that. And then you see what everybody sees is like, we have a Panda Express, a Chipotle, a Hardee's, we have an Olive Garden, and possibly some more restaurants that I don't even want to put out there. But we've got an academy, and it's like those things just popped up. But they're following that job growth and that economy growth. Those kinds of jobs really do drive your economic base, and then your taxpayer base is stable. And so that's why there's so much effort right now to recruit jobs. We had the best legislative session for economic development that we've had in 25 years. You saw SB 307, which is the Entergy bill. So Entergy now can do some really great things to increase capacity. We're attracting data centers because of that.
So that was the big data center announcement. They needed that to pass
West
in order
Memphis,
to bring that. Yeah.
Little Rock, possibly others. Not sure who has
Conway?
announced. Yes, I was like, can we say that?
Well,
yes, okay.
That's what I heard. I heard it. Maybe
I just
Conway.
heard it from Caleb. I'm
okay.
gonna say. Yeah. So there are so then you're going to see huge growth around. I mean, we saw Buc-ee's go to West Memphis, and we all went, what? And then you saw West Memphis announce a data center, and you're like, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, retail is following those huge, steady job. Now, like I said, tech jobs. Right. Okay, well, now that makes sense. So that's how we attract the fun stuff, is we do the hard work of that job sector growth. So that was probably longer of an answer than you wanted, but that's kind of like the thought process.
Part of this is the city, if my understanding is right, like the city helped with sidewalks and stuff like that. Is that right? So
wonderful.
So they came in and said, hey, we're going to cut your cost, because that was one of the requirements.
Public right-of-way, yeah.
Public right-of-way. They were going to help you with that and cut some the permitting cost and other things like that, right? Yeah. So they were trying to make it easier for you on that side.
Every
of it
little
as well.
bit helps, because we have so many different uh-ohs out there that you find when you buy something, especially on Main Street, is old.
Yeah,
and
that's
back
right.
when they built all those buildings,
that's right.
So Wild West.
They didn't have high-functioning city folks that knew what they were supposed to be doing.
They were
so it was
probably
just thrown down on the ground and threw some
Yeah.
concrete down.
Yeah.
And so the amount of capacity of water we move through these sites, you have to do a lot of engineering, so it works. But to answer the question on what like a year or 5 years for Russellville will look like, I think as long as people will realize that, yes, there's people moving in, but that does not mean we start doubling our prices.
Right.
Because, if what I don't want to do is say, all right, well, I got a lot of other deals, and I do, but it's like they're all, just based off a number.
Right.
If it doesn't fit in that number, then we're going to go to New Mexico or wherever, because they look all over the country. So, so I think the big thing for Russellville and just everybody into it is just to keep weathering the storm and not just doubling prices. That's where you're going to get in trouble. You know what I mean? Where people and so we've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that
out on Wheel Road.
So you but that's
that.
part of it. So I just say the same thing every time I see somebody. I'm just up front. I tell them what I'm going to do.
Yep.
I don't work in secret. I almost sometimes tell people exactly what I'm doing. My wife always tells me I need to not say what I'm going to do and where I'm going to run the ball. She's like, you got to stop telling people to beat you
When
in the
you
hole.
said Chewy's
You're gonna
earlier,
have
my
a
jaw
brain
kind of
dead.
dropped. I was like, we're naming that today.
Yeah.
You have breaking news.
Okay.
I got a lot to prove up. Like, for example, big thing for Chewy's is they were bought last October by Darden. I used to represent Chewy's since they had 8 stores, just a private company before they even publicly traded on the NASDAQ. And then, obviously Darden bought them. But they're in kind of like a thing where they're figuring out how to work under the Darden umbrella because it's so big. So that's going to kind of stun a lot of these companies' growth, is getting their operations team into that big conglomerate. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with them, is they're overwhelmed opening Fort Smith and Conway. So we're kind of just trying to find the right time to do the next deals.
That makes sense.
Because it comes down to operations. Because ultimately that's who we work for in the real estate side, is operations. If operations isn't happy, a restaurant's not going to go there.
Well, so let me ask you, because this was on my list to ask. Your operation is relatively big. I mean, when you're talking about multiple states, I was looking at your website. You have, I don't know, 4 different project managers, like 7 different superintendents.
Maybe 9 now.
Maybe 9. And so you have a large operation. How do you keep that unified as you go this way and you start to
So I'm big on like sports. That's all I ever know or ever done. So I always tell people, and even my wife, accountant, my business partner, when we started construction, they're like, oh, well, I don't know about this. I was like, I got a feeling. And those feelings either get us in real trouble or they'll work out.
Most of the
time. And for the first 5
out.
years, it got us in trouble. But, we weather storm, but it's people. We've been fortunate to hire, like I said, multiple good people from a lot of big companies around Arkansas, the Crosslands, the Baldwin Shells. And so really day to day, I'm out of the construction. I've got such a trusted team that, I have a picture of the 92 Dream Team, and I always tell them I'm Christian Leitner. I'm the white guy on the bench, ready to go fight somebody. That's the only job I got. Other than that, y'all keep me on the bench, and I want all them making the plays. And that's why I like staying out of all the...
You're very humble, but I would say that the guy at the top, the founder, has to have a vision that he casts every single day, every single week to his guys, to his people. So the people are important, but the best people are in the right places, right? So, but you got to have the vision to say, here's what we're doing. So how do you keep that vision in front of them where you're unified underneath this?
I think I'm authentic to people. I treat everybody the same. I don't care if you got $2 or $5 zillion. My dad told me, if you lie, steal, and cheat, it'll always get you. And he said, you know what? No matter if you make $100 million or $2, nobody's any better than anybody else. So my dad and my mom, I was just raised right. So I would put that on them. A lot of times I got in a lot of trouble and have worked myself out of a lot of situations. But I just think my parents' upbringing, and then I just love what I do. I wake up every day and I get to be around a lot of people that like do it. So I just tell them every day, make a play. Yeah. And I just everything I do is just about, sports and come at people, and that's how I do it. And so to me, I'm only as good as my next deal. So I could sit in here and we could talk about all these deals, but what's that do for me? It doesn't do anything. You got to stay for your next one, and that's what I do. So to me, I just don't like the limelight. I don't like doing a lot of this stuff.
Podcasts.
Just because my dad was always one about that. Yeah. And he's been very successful. So if he can say that and do that, then I'm no better than him. So I keep my mouth shut. Because in a small circle, when I'm out and about, I do a lot of talking anyway. So I don't need to be out saying stuff publicly.
We described, so there was one meeting you came and we met with someone in town, and I couldn't make it. My kiddo was like injured or something crazy. And I sent Alyssa, our wonderful COO with the chamber, awesome teammate. And I kind of prepped her because I did not have the stack of papers that I usually have with like the 30-minute rundown. I was like, those things are what you're used to. This is like a parade. Like Eric's going to come through town. You're going to,
That's funny.
And then
That's funny,
if you just ride the car, you'll be fine. And
my dad still to this day, he says, boy, all you do is drive around these towns and you drive in parades and wave at people.
Like you're going to call all the properties off market.
Jeff and me will film videos of me driving down a main street and I'll wave. And he just thinks that's so funny. That's what I do.
Yes. And as I bring Christy Graham, it's been wonderful to have Christy in our offices because like things that you wouldn't anticipate the synergy there. But there's a lot of times you drive through and what about that hotel? What about that old hotel
I'll see
off
stuff
market?
Different, you know what I mean? Like off the cusp. So
I say our tourism director actually collects the hotel tax. She's got all these contacts, and here they go. Call anybody that you want. So there's some neat synergy happening and a good team. But yeah, it is like the parade. It's like you're gonna just ride, and then he's gonna see something, and you're gonna provide the local contact information, and then come back and let's talk about it.
And
with
there's
some
not gonna
data.
be anything serious about it. But it's like when it gets down to it, that's when we lock in, and we've just got the right team. So it makes my life so much easier because my job is the 30,000 feet. I'm the one
you're the big picture
and set it up.
You're the big picture.
And I have everybody else behind. So for me to take credit more than anybody else, I can't do that because I've got a pretty good role.
So
know what I mean?
you trust your team,
Yeah.
and then you empower them to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, go and do it." You're not micromanaging a lot. You follow up. You make
So
sure.
my vision, and I tell people this all the time, is in 5 years, I want to walk out the back door and they never need me again.
Yeah.
And that's when I've done my job. When they're all, and I tell people, I truly want people to make more money than they've ever made or ever imagined. Because I'm the person that if you say you can't do something, I'm the one that's going to do it. You know what I mean? Because can't just doesn't go down in my vocabulary. Because I'm just walking proof of somebody with not much of an education, and I just outworked everybody. And so that's really all it comes down to.
Yeah. So
and Chip will say that best, like because I stay humble with it. And, we were talking yesterday, and and I just shy away from a lot of stuff. He always tells people, like, y'all have no clue what went into this to get to where we're at, because he's seen it of how hard we had to work. Because I put in a lot of hours when I didn't have the people.
Right.
And now it's just a relief that we do.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
John Maxwell, book, he says, a guy came up to him after a speech one time and says, "I know what I want to do the rest of my life. I want to do what you do." And he says, "Yeah, but do you want to do what I did to get here?" Right. So we see the Academy Sports and we see the Olive Gardens, and we're like,
to me, it's like,
you don't understand what I did to get to this point, right? So there's this different in mindset, perspectives, right?
I was a real estate broker for Darden, and I went out and put 2 pieces of property under contract, and basically that's not no in that industry. And I took a chance, and I was willing to sever ties with them, but they were like, "All right, you can do them," and that's how it started.
Wow.
So now I'm their largest preferred developer in the country. So it just started by you got to take what you want, and if you don't, you're not going to get it.
Yep. So getting out of your comfort zone, getting into your strength zone. Right?
I've been in a lot out of my comfort zone. That's how success happens. You got to get outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you'll never get anywhere.
You can't, right? You can't scale if you're not willing to get out of this easy comfort. This is what we're pulling in every 9 to 5 kind of. Hey, and to some people, that's great.
Yep.
That is getting out of their comfort zone. Everybody's got to be their own level, right? But for a guy like you that's been doing this for so long, entrepreneurial, that's a different mindset altogether, right? And then the trust to say, all right, I'm going to build this team up and then empower them to do it. That's different too. You don't see
that's a whole different skill set. Especially most people in my position would micro, and I have, and I do make mistakes, and I come crashing in, but they know that. So, but everything I do is with intent, just to push everybody to a limit that they don't think they can get to.
Right.
Because really, that's all it comes down to. I think if you asked anybody that was successful, they've always pushed people around them. Just to that's what makes people. Excites them and gives them hope. And I think a lot of reason we were able to get people is they see the brand growing, so they can be a part of that.
Right.
And our culture's pretty. As you can see with me, I'm not serious, so we're not really too serious of a group. We play hard, but we also work hard when it gets down to it. But
people want to play for a winning team.
Yes, that's
right.
Exactly right. Hey, tell them about the rubber band theory. You were just telling me about.
Oh well, I mean, so I don't know. Maxwell has this. A law that he has in growth, and it's called the rubber band. So basically, he throws out the rubber bands and has them assess what that does. And it's basically there's no use in a rubber band unless it's stretched. And so the idea is, it's like, if for us, it's, hey, if you want to be useful, then stretch what you think is not possible, right? And then when you start to do that, your growth starts to take off. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, but the law of the rubber band is like, if you want to be average, do what average people do, right? But if you want to be different, if you want that scale of I'm different, I want this enormous goal that most people think is impossible, then stretch where you feel like it's about to break. And that's kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, you're about broke.
I've never read a leadership book or anything like that. Like I always tell people, I think there's people that are natural born leaders, and then you either find your good, mental space to be in, because it's taken me a long time to get to where I can really allow people to not have full control. I really want to have full control, but it's been hard, and I've had to learn a lot of patience to be able to allow other people to go and do it on my behalf. And what I found out was, man, it's nice.
Yeah.
I'm not having to run around like a nutbag like I used to, and so.
Well, that probably brings me to, I've got a couple rapid fire questions for you. And that's one, it would just be your biggest lesson you've learned as a business owner. And
Oh man,
Potentially.
I've got a lot of good ones, but I think the biggest lessons that I think I'm really learning right now is a lot of times, I talk a lot, so I don't know what I say. I don't know what I tell people. So
Stresses Megan out.
My daughter and my wife, my two therapists, because my wife, she says all the time, people tell me what I want to hear, so she won't do that. So she's kind of like the sounding board that just keeps me kind of to a level that I probably need to be at. But she, I would say the biggest thing I've learned is just sometimes to listen.
Yeah.
As Toby Key said,
Yeah.
lot less talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more.
That's funny because that's what Brienne said.
Yes, she did, didn't she?
I mean,
She said the same
I would
thing.
say that has been the biggest thing, and that's been the biggest thing for me is just listen a little bit more and try to, and again, it's what my wife and my daughter, I keep saying this because I feel like I'm like some kind of project for them. But it's like just the temperament and just listen a little more. I can be a lot more successful. So I'd say that's one of the biggest things is trying to listen better.
Listen, I mean, and Caleb's right. Brianne Davis was on here and she said the exact same thing. And she spoke to that about why it's important. It's just because you are more cultured. You can grow when you understand the other side on the other table. Otherwise, you're just only in your own head and you'll never get anywhere. So next question is a dream project you'd like to take on one day.
So I'm actually working on it right now. It's 17 acres my dad owns in Fayetteville. That it's our last piece that we've had, and it's where all my offices and stuff are. And it's been one of those pieces sitting up there that it's just been a long time coming. And my dad at one time probably owned 60 acres in Steel Crossings, which is the Target Walmart area in Fayetteville, and we're down to about our last 20. And my dad's 71, and my dad, me and him have never worked together. We just don't. We I've helped him on some real estate stuff, but we're like Johnny Bad 1 and Johnny Bad 2. So we don't. We're so much alike. It's not even funny. But really, to be able to finish the game for my dad on 17 acres and do it right and put in my final office, because I've moved around. I'm always deals on wheels. If somebody likes my office building, I'll sell it to them. I don't care.
You think it's pretty?
I'm deals
okay,
on
you can have it.
deals on wheels. And so really just finishing that project for my dad at his age and just where he's at. I'm kind of in the amongst of it right
Love
now,
that.
dealing with
That's
the city
great.
of Fayetteville. And there's a lot of good people at the city of Fayetteville, but they just got so many crazy ideas. I always tell them, you just need to give people like me a fast pass. Hey, you've done this 15 to 20 times in the city. It's cool. Tell us when you need us to come check some stuff. And so I'm always on them about because they're like, well, we're overworked. Well, because you want to look over everybody's shoulder on painting a sidewalk.
Yep.
Too
much.
So that's why, again, I go back to Russellville and what I've dealt with the mayor and Megan and everybody else. It's just been so pleasant.
Yeah.
And so for me, why would I mean, that makes me excited because then I get to come down here. And if I find the real estate, I'm not going to have kickback. I'm going to have somebody that's right there with me
Yeah.
that's working beside me. So if I got a choice and I'm going to steer somebody somewhere, where do you think I'm going to steer them?
Yeah.
Yeah, this direction.
Because I can steer
yeah.
if I want to steer. If I feel like they're comparable and I can get
Right.
it done, I'm going to push Russellville
Well, it's a
over a Fayetteville
Yeah.
or whatever town. I'm not going to start naming it. Maybe Conway.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
Conway. I'll say it. They get big britches down there.
Yeah.
we have an office in Conway. We feel
I got
that.
some
Yeah,
stuff
we
going
get
down
it.
there,
Yeah.
but you know what?
Yeah,
whatever.
we
So-
went to UCA. We feel it. Jody's
yeah.
from Conway, so her
Yeah.
dad or grandpa owned Jodi Brown Motors.
Okay.
So
That's who I was named after.
I love
Jody.
Bill Lewis.
Yeah.
Bill Lewis is one of my favorite people.
But I don't know Bill Lewis. Did he work for him?
He's the oldest, or he's the Lewis Ranch and Lewis Crossing.
Yes.
those people.
Who took it?
He's awesome.
Yes, I've seen. Oh, they're set up.
Yes.
But you know him personally.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
done some deals
Cool.
with him.
And one thing I
Yes.
think is really important is one of the first meetings you had. There are so many people that we can get together on the same page, pushing the same direction, which is such a valuable asset to Russellville. I mean, we got you and the Colette in the room. The country club did like a private lunch one day over. In fact, you're going to play golf this
I'm going
afternoon.
to play golf on my team.
Yeah, because Zach gave him.
After this one, I got shorts on.
Zach,
I've never played Russellville Country Club.
Zach
Excited.
gave,
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach gave free golf passes, but we get Entergy in the room, we get City Corps in the room, we get the mayor, the judge, tourism, and we all get in the room at the same time. So it's a conversation about we've got
Bogey, like where's the bogeys at?
Yeah.
What's the issue?
pull up
Exactly.
the utilities, pull up the water, the sewer. Let's do it all right now. Let's talk
great.
about all right now together around the table. I hear what the judge is saying. The judge hears what Omar Clemens saying. You
Yeah.
hear, and so it's a 2-hour meeting. We do it when we get a big project, and it's so productive. And then you leave feeling like they're playing as a team. I've got the mayor's cell phone number. The city engineer likes this. Like, it's so productive. And then you got free golf out of it too. So win-win. Yeah. So we've been trying to, the team thing in Russellville is big.
But again, I'll
Good.
say this: like Megan and what I've seen. I mean, I'm just saying she's got a lot of capabilities to be able to pull a lot of people together, and I'd say that skill set's something inside of these cities that if you don't have somebody that people want to be around or be able to pull people together or have the knowledge and how to do that is where we've talked about other towns that I've gone to or places that just very professional and how it's set up right. So just I don't think they need to realize what they got.
I understand that, what you're saying, the synergy that you bring, Megan, and that is a gift. So thank
Well,
you
I
for
get
what
you.
you
The
do.
flip side is like, I don't have to know all the answers if all the people who know the
Know the
answers
answers.
are at the table.
That's
so
right.
Well,
I've got a
bringing
little
them
with me,
together.
going back to my
Yeah.
team. I don't have to know everything we're doing.
Right. Right.
And trust
And
is
it
the
is
hardest
empowering
thing.
or
Yeah.
freedom. It gives you a level of, like you said, freedom. So what would you do on your, if you had a little extra freedom, what would you do? Would you go play more golf?
No, I'm a big bow hunter and hunter, but if I had more free time, what would I do? I don't know. I do it all to the extent pretty good. So I would say, I don't know. I mean,
You'll have more time to go to those pageants.
That's right. Support your
you know,
girl.
I don't know. I mean, travel more, I guess. But I get so excited about the deals. But we're getting sent to Montana for Darden, so I'm excited about that one. So I'm
cool.
getting to go to Montana. So,
Where do you know?
Kalispell, Great Falls, and Missoula.
You're going
Oh
to
yeah.
love it.
You're gonna.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
We did some
we love
discount
it.
tires up there, and so
Yeah.
we finally talked Darden into signing us all their assignments up there.
Missoula's
so,
a cool.
Take
It
your
is.
fly
town.
rod.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
I'd say travel a little bit more, maybe me and my wife, but
Fun.
I'm pretty good. I've got
Yeah.
a good
You're
thing
happy.
going. I am
So,
happy.
so in Sam Walton's book, they always talked about taking vacations. The kids, and they would always go on vacations, but Sam would always put the vacation around wherever the next place he needed to go see if there a shop needed to be.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was always on vacation, but he was always working. So you seem like one of those guys that's like, if I'm going to go on vacation, it may be in Montana
Yeah.
at Missoula where I can see where maybe that next project would
Yeah,
be.
Parade around town.
Yeah.
And parade around, and parade around town.
Megan would say it, my dad.
Parade through.
Yeah, so that would be it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to think of.
I
'cause
know. I like to hit you off the spot, but no, I think that's a great answer. You're happy. I think
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Did you have any other final question?
Well, you said this a minute ago, but I'm going to ask it. And Megan, this is for you too. Give me some books that you would recommend, like that's been important in your life. Hey, like,
Bible.
there you go. Okay, why the Bible?
Because, like I said, I've gotten in a lot of trouble in my life, and I think that's the one thing that when I home in on that and read that, it's the one thing that can really put into perspective that I'm not as big as I think I am. So
you
for
go.
me, I could read leadership books and do all these things, but for me, that's the one I'd say.
It is the leadership book, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. We've been going through Proverbs. We've been going
Yeah,
through.
that's my favorite. That or First or Second Peter.
Yeah.
So
Those are
those
good.
would be mine.
That's your go-to.
Yeah, and I don't do it as much as, again, like I'll go through patches where I'm always in it or I'm not. So I kind of go back and forth with it. But I would say that book. But I've had a few other. Man in the Mirror would be another good
Man in the
one.
Mirror.
Yeah.
You remember who wrote? You know who
I
wrote?
don't know. I mean, they used to make fun of me because until I was probably 5 or 6 years ago, I never read a book. So, I mean, like I said, not dating myself or saying anything, but I just haven't read or been much educated.
I'll be honest. I wasn't until just I'd say a few years ago too.
Yeah.
And this guy got me. He pushed me, and he challenged
I
me.
pulled a rubber band.
And
I pulled a rubber
he
band.
did like 11 in a few months, and that was through Audible and and reading, but just I thought, what? Who are you? And so it challenged me. And I've dabbled here and there, but I like to start books. It's hard for me to finish them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see like there's a file
what keeps
of
bookmarks
books with
and all.
bookmarks and all of them, and I'm like, did you finish that one? No, I'm going to. 6 months later, the
I get
bookmark's
bored,
still in the same
but,
spot.
yeah.
Bookmarks
There
are a
isn't
good gift to give you. That's good for me to know.
Probably
Yeah,
so.
bring some
Yeah.
I Heart Russellville bookmarks. They'll be put to good use.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
Megan, what about you?
So this year, so I took a little break from reading this year. I am, for some reason, I think I love people and I love their stories. I have a story. It's fun to know people's stories, and so I love to read autobiographies, and I'll read like.
Yeah.
One a month. One of my favorite ones was Viola Davis. I'm an Enneagram 8 though, so I like a harder story.
Man.
Yeah, I
I
like
am
a
too.
harder or like a murder mystery or like
I'm surrounded by you guys. Oh, I feel so intimidated.
What are you?
Honestly, not an 8. Let's be real. I think I'd be. Was it? I don't know.
9.
I need to call
8.
Brienne. It was
If
a
you
9.
don't know, you're a 9.
I refuse to
kidding.
take it. I told
2.
Brienne, I'm not taking it. She
Isn't
wanted me
what
to take
Brienne
it.
an 8,
I'm gonna do
right?
it.
Yes, I have
challenger.
a 7 wing. It's like yes, but I'm not as. I think that Brienne is 8 wing, 8 wing, 8, and then there's a 7 in there somewhere. But I'm like an 8 with a 7, and I'm not.
I need to hone
Some
in
of my
on
friends
what it
think
is.
I'm a 3. It's a controversial topic. But,
You know, it's,
but,
I'm an
yeah.
8 to wing to a 3.
Okay, yeah, because the 3 is an achiever and an 8 is like a strong leader,
Challenger.
confrontation, and a
Killer.
challenger. Yeah, so
But
Yeah,
8s can
yeah.
be the worst of the worst if they're not in a good headspace.
Healthy. Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about it because I have zero empathy, and it's hard for me to just because I look at it like this. Anybody says they can't do something, again, I just don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
get up and
Go do it.
I know. I think about
for me.
yeah.
It's hard for me to. I'm a work in progress.
I have that same.
It's like
I have the
work in
same problem.
fruits of the spirit. I have joy, but if you get to mercy, I'm like, oh, I didn't get that one.
I was wondering why me and you get along. That's why we get along well. But
I'm
it's
like, I'm working on that one. My husband is very compassionate in like a manly way, and
Yes.
so our kids fortunately
Lean
for
to
them.
him.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
afraid of you, not daddy.
Yeah, hope not, but maybe. Yeah, we'll have to ask him. But autobiographies, and then I'm reading through the whole Bible this year. So chronologically, I've never done that before. I've never read
That's
through the
a
whole
lot.
Bible. So yeah, so that's kind of taking up.
Are you
my time.
using an app to do that?
The Bible recap.
app. A friend
Yeah.
of mine just showed that to me. She's doing the same thing. So
great.
I thought I may need
'Cause
to
they
jump on
explain it
that.
to you.
Yep, that's what she
It's
said.
like 5
It's
or
a
6
lot.
minutes
Like,
a day.
I've done it 2 or 3 times. It's a lot.
Yes.
Like it's a lot of reading.
And it's a lot of like I needed the recap to explain the reading to me,
Yes.
even though
Yeah.
familiar with the text. Like I never knew it meant that.
Meant
I
that.
never knew there were like giant
Yes.
angel beings.
Yes.
and, like dragons. I was like, am I
yeah.
reading science fiction?
Caleb's got all the
Yeah, I know.
stories.
Oh, yeah.
The,
It's
the
nuts.
bears and all the wild things.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting. I've learned a lot. So it's
Cool.
interesting.
It's good.
Yeah, if you can get through Leviticus,
I
then you can
didn't
get
mind
through
it.
the rest of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leviticus is
Those are over my
tough.
head.
Yeah,
Can't
but
say half those names, so I just.
they're important. That's all I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
well, guys, thank you so much. This has been really great. Thanks for investing in Russellville.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you for. We'll have a parade if you want.
Yeah.
For you.
Well,
And a
That's fine.
statue. A
I
statue.
don't want a
statue.
statue.
You want a
again.
statue?
I don't know.
Outside
Yeah.
of
I
Olive
was
Garden.
just something back then. It was a different. I was a lot younger, and like I said, I'm a work in progress. So I was a little more.
Well, she made a mental
Outspoken.
note of it that the statue will come. It may take another
Yes.
couple
I don't
of
want a
builds.
statue. Again,
Yeah.
that's not good.
we can figure
That's
that
the
out.
previous
Yeah.
life.
Y'all don't know who I am. Don't say my name.
Yeah.
I'm just a regular
I'm
guy
just here.
trying to do a deal.
That's great.
So
Trying to do some more deals.
as the deals keep coming, and we may want to have you and Megan back on to say, hey, give us an update. You know, tell us what's going on, and because it's been exciting for us to sit there and watch what's going on and then the backstory with it. It's been
means.
it's great.
I got a guy driving around right now.
You got a guy
Dawn
driving around
would be
right now.
interesting. So one thing that I thought was neat, I saw Boen-Kemp do it, and I've seen Baldwin Shell do it. Is hire an economic developer, kind of like me, or
Yeah.
you've got
Right.
Dawn on staff
Oh,
for
Don
them.
Juan.
So like Don Clark is his actual name. It's great to work with the developers because I can kind of speak the language, and Don knows. Hey, these sidewalks are in the public right of way, and your city's already doing an improvement plan. Just that's a one way to cut costs.
Yeah, because Don and Megan were the one that worked on all that.
All the
But he said
details.
that he was the economic
Yeah.
developer for 17 years for Siloam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's got, it
First
makes
day
it
I
easy.
met him, and I loved Don. He told his wife first day we met him, and then 10 years later, he's like, I can work for those guys. And 10 years later, he came for us. So that's why he speaks the language of these cities. So I
Yes.
have
That's a
a
great
person for everything.
Well, to be honest, up here, it's hard I don't like getting back in the details, bogged down. And that's a lot of details. And so, you hire that. And Megan and Dawn.
Don Clark.
She's going to say
Don
one.
Clark.
She's going to
He's a great guy.
She's going to say
Don
one.
Clark. He's wonderful. And then Drew Williams is another example of Baldwin Shell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that would be great, though. I would love it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
That's how
Everybody
he's
needs
going
a
to be
Don.
remembered now
Yeah.
as one. Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why I like it that way.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. And we're going to we're going to do this again. I feel like in the
I'm
future.
excited.
This has
and
been great.
I like Conway. So I just want to say that on the record
that
because
on.
Brad Lacey does training for us. And I was like, Brad, personal note.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We like
For
Conway.
shout-outs.
We're
Yeah.
there too. We like Benton. We're there in Benton
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
We've
Yeah,
done a lot
it's-
in Conway.
Yeah. So
And
we
Benton.
Those
we like it.
communities are wonderful.
Yes.
We love
Yeah,
that.
they're all good ones.
So, well,
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining the Caleb and Jodi Moore podcast today. If you like what you heard, just hit the like and subscribe button there below.
And we want you to be a part of the process. So if you have questions or topics that you'd love for us to cover, please add them in the comment or send us a message.